Can I get a small french fries caramel frappuccino? Asiago Ranch chicken club sandwich.
Meet Brett. He doesn't know it, but he's an addict. He has no idea that these foods stimulate the same area of his brain as drugs and alcohol. In fact, the urge to binge eat can be suppressed by the same drugs that doctors use to block and counter the effects of heroin. And it explains the reason why the processed food industry refers to its most dedicated customers as heavy users. There's something about Brett's meal that provokes him to crave more and more. And it's one of the reasons why America has become so fat. This is your body on burgers. We've known for decades now that consuming lots of food that's high in sugar, fat, and salt can lead to obesity and chronic diseases like heart disease and diabetes. But we still do it. Why? Foods naturally high in calories have always been present in our diets, but in small quantities. In fact, our bodies are programmed to crave them for their ability to provide quick energy and long-lasting fuel. Yet today, food manufacturers design products that are hypersaturated in sugar, fat, and salt, and they can do it cheaply. As a result, highly caloric foods are everywhere. On average, Americans consume 22 teaspoons of added sugar a day, even though it's recommended that adults consume between 6 and 9. And some products that are marketed as healthy are deceivingly full of sugar. A serving of Yoplait original yogurt contains 6.5 teaspoons, more than a whole day's worth recommended for a woman. And a bottle of vitamin water only has 2 teaspoons less than a can of Coke. As for fat, a burger and fries at a fast food restaurant has nearly 90% of what's recommended for daily total fat intake. Not to mention more than an entire day's saturated fat in one meal. And as for salt, a mere half cup of Campbell's chicken noodle soup contains 60% of what's suggested for adults in a day. We are consuming far more highly caloric foods than our bodies could possibly need or use. As a result, we are changing the way our brains are wired. And these changes are strikingly similar to drug addiction. When we eat food highly concentrated in sugar, fat, or salt, it produces a huge bang, first in the parts of the brain that register pleasure, and then in the gut. A chemical called dopamine is released in the brain, producing feelings of euphoria. Dopamine is also involved in the memory of these pleasurable acts. This used to be beneficial for ensuring that we remember to consume relatively scarce, high-calorie food. However, today, with an unlimited supply, this mechanism can be destructive. Constant stimulation with these types of foods can lead to what is known as toxic hunger. It numbs the brain's reward center, leading people to consume greater quantities to maintain the same state of pleasure. In 2010, a study conducted at the University of Texas gave 26 overweight young women MRIs as they sipped milkshakes. The same women got repeat MRI scans 6 months later. Those who had gained weight showed reduced activity in the brain's pleasure center when they sipped milkshakes the second time. The results suggest that a career of overeating causes a dulled feeling of reward, and this is exactly what is found with chronic drug abusers.
Does Coca-Cola have the taste you never get tired of? Is things go better with Coke after Coke after Coke just a slogan?
Despite the influx of research on food addiction in the last couple years, some people are rather resistant to the idea. A study partially funded by the World Sugar Research Organization argues that food does not produce the same kind of intense dopamine release seen with drugs. And the major sponsor of this study? The Coca-Cola Company. So it's no surprise that the food industry pushes hard that the best way to get a hold on the obesity epidemic is through voluntary measures rather than regulating existing products. It's the same approach the tobacco industry took by deflecting the attention from the health risks and addictive nature of smoking to concentrating on low tar and low nicotine marketing. Whether you support the new research on food addiction or you're a skeptic of it, America's health still remains in a state of crisis. According to a recent report, if obesity rates continue on their current trajectories, by 2030, nearly half of Americans would be obese. For Brett, understanding the consequences of eating a greasy burger is the first step on his road to recovery. We ultimately have the power to make choices. After all, only we decide what to buy and how much to eat.